There is a sentence I hear more than almost anything else when we start working with an enterprise client. It sounds completely reasonable, and it's almost always the most expensive sentence in the building. We can't touch that system. Everything runs on it. And I get it. It's true. The system does run everything. But at some point, that sentence stops being technical reality and starts being a reason to never improve anything. A reason to keep stacking workarounds. A reason to accept that your technology will always slow you down instead of move you forward. Today, I want to talk about what it actually looks like to change that, without breaking everything in the process. Hi, I'm Luca from Calda, and we're an app development agency, and a big part of what we do is helping companies that have been running on the same core systems for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years figure out how to move forward. Legacy modernization is one of the most misunderstood things in enterprise technology. Most of what gets written about it is either too technical for the people making the decision or too vague to be useful. So today, no jargon, no architecture diagrams, just an honest look at what modernization actually involves and why it often goes wrong, and what the companies that get it right do differently. Legacy does not mean old, it does not mean broken, and it does not mean the people who built it made a mistake. Legacy means a system that was built to solve a problem that existed at a specific point in time, and has since been asked to do far more than it was ever designed for. The database that was perfect for 10,000 records is now handling 50 million. The workflow built for a team of 30 now supports a company of 3,000. The integration that connected two internal systems now has to talk to 40 different platforms, most of which didn't exist when the original code was written. The systems that are hardest to modernize are rarely the oldest ones. They're the ones that work the best, because those are the ones that quietly got used for everything. Here's the conversation that usually triggers a modernization project. It's not a catastrophic failure. It's quieter than that. A leadership team wants a new capability. Engineering comes back and says 6 months. Leadership pushes back. Why 6 months? Engineering explains. The existing system wasn't built for this. Adding it properly means untangling several other things first. So leadership asks, can we do a workaround? And engineering says yes. 3 weeks. They do the workaround. It works. 3 months later, the same conversation happens again. Another workaround. Another 3 weeks. 2 years of this, and the system now has a dozen workarounds stacked on top of each other. Nobody fully understands how they interact. Every new feature takes longer than the last. According to McKinsey, technical debt consumes between 10 and 20% of enterprise IT budgets every year. In some organizations, that number exceeds 40%. That's not a technology statistics. That's a business statistics. It means a significant share of what you're spending on technology isn't building anything new. It's maintaining the cost of decisions made years ago. If that sounds familiar, the link in the description is a good next step. We're happy to take an honest look at what you're working with. When a modernization project starts, the first real decision is which approach actually fits. There are 3. Choosing the wrong one is usually where the most expensive mistakes happen. The first is rehosting, sometimes called lift and shift. You move the existing system to a modern environment, typically cloud infrastructure, without changing how it works. It's the fastest and lowest risk option. It does not solve the underlying problems, but it can reduce costs and improve performance. Think of it as a first step. Useful, but only if everyone understands that's what it is. The second is refactoring. You keep the same system, but clean up how it's built internally. the logic stays, the structure improves. It takes real engineering judgment, but when it's done well, the system does everything the old one did and becomes dramatically easier to build on going forward. The third is replacement. You build something new and retire the old system entirely. This is where most of the horror stories come from. Not because replacement is wrong, sometimes it's exactly right, but it's the most complex option and it's frequently chosen when one of the other two would have been faster and cheaper. The rule we apply: replace only what you can't refactor. Refactor only what you can't rehost. Start with the least disruptive option that actually moves you in the right direction. Let me give you an example of what happens when the approach gets chosen for the wrong reasons. A mid-sized financial services company decided to replace their core customer management platform. It had been running for 14 years. Slow, difficult to integrate with, UI that looked like a different era, because it was. They brought in a consultancy, 2-year project, budget in the region of $4 million. 18 months in, they had spent most of the budget and had a system covering about 60% of what the old one did. The reason? The old system contained 15 years of business logic that had never been written down anywhere. Rules about how certain client types were processed, edge cases in reporting that finances depended on. Workflows encoded into the system so long ago that nobody currently at the company fully understood them. They just knew the system handled it correctly. When you replace a system like that without mapping it first, you discover what it actually does the hard way, feature by feature, exception by exception, complaint by complaint from the people who use it every day. The project was eventually completed, but it took 3 years instead of 2, cost nearly double the original estimate, and created more internal disruption than anyone anticipated. None of that was inevitable. It would have looked very different if the audit had come before the architecture decision, not after it. This is the step that separates modernization projects that succeed from the ones that spiral. Before you decide what to build or replace, you need to understand what you actually have in detail, not at a high level. A real audit maps 3 things: what the system does, so every workflow, every edge case, including the ones only the daily users know about; what it connects to, the integrations, data feeds, third-party platforms, because the dependencies are almost always where the surprises live; and what's actually being used. Because in most legacy systems, a significant portion of the functionality has quietly stopped being relevant. You don't need to rebuild what nobody needs. This phase typically takes 4 to 8 weeks for a system of any real size. It's the phase most organizations try to shorten. In our experience, every week cut from the audit adds a month to a project later. Once you know what you have and you've chosen your approach, the question becomes: how do you actually execute it without bringing everything down? The most reliable method for complex systems is something engineers call the strangler fig pattern. The name comes from a tree that grows around an existing structure, gradually replacing it from the outside while the original keeps functioning until it's no longer needed. In practice, instead of replacing the old system all at once, you build the new one in pieces, alongside the old one. Each piece takes over a specific function. The old system handles everything else. Over time, the new one absorbs more and more, until the old one can be retired. The business keeps running throughout. Users may not notice anything fundamental is changing, and if something goes wrong with a new piece, you fall back to the old system handling that function while you fix it. This takes longer than a full replacement, but it carries a fraction of the risk. And in environments where the system cannot go down, risk management isn't optional. It's the entire strategy. If you're planning a cutover and want a second opinion on how it's structured, that's a conversation we're happy to have. Link is in the description. We've worked on enough of these to see a pattern in the ones that stall, and it's almost never a technical problem. The most common reason modernization projects slow down or fail is a lack of alignment between the people sponsoring the project and the people who depend on the system being changed. Leadership approves the initiative. A project team is assembled. Work begins, and 6 months in, the people who use the system every day, so operations, finance, customer service, start raising concerns. The new system doesn't handle an exception they rely on. A report they run every week is structured differently. A workflow that used to take 2 steps now takes 5. These are valid concerns. But if they surface 6 months in, rather than 6 weeks before the project starts, they become expensive to fix. The organizations that get modernization right involve operational stakeholders from the very beginning, not just in a sign-off meeting, in the actual discovery, in the definition of what the new system needs to do. Because the people who determine whether a modernization was successful are rarely the ones who approve the budget. They're the ones who use the system every single day. Get them in the room early and almost everything else becomes easier. Legacy modernization gets talked about in the abstract a lot. What it rarely gets is the honest, specific conversation it actually needs. So the real question isn't, do we need to modernize? Most teams already know the answer to that. It's, what is it actually costing us to wait? Because the longer this sits on the roadmap without moving, the more your teams are spending managing limitations instead of building capabilities. And the more complex eventual project becomes. Because systems that aren't maintained don't stay the same. They get more entangled. If you want a clear picture of where your system actually stands, not a sales pitch, just a real look at your situation, that's exactly what we do at Calda. The link to book a call is in the description. And if something we covered today matched a conversation you've been having internally, drop a comment. I read all of them and I'm happy to share thoughts on your specific situation. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this, and see you in the next one.